Hello everybody, and welcome along to episode number 88 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. I am joined by Katie Corbett today, who is joining me live from Wisconsin in America. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
How are you today?
Doing well.
Wonderful. I'm doing well too. And episode number 88, which, as a friend just pointed out to me beforehand, he said, well, that's a special episode for you. And I said, is it? And he said, yeah, 88 is the year that you were born. And I was like, of course. It is a special. Every episode is a special episode, but I can mark this one as especially special.
Perfect.
Now, let me give Katie a good and fair introduction. Katie Corbett helps business owners and marketing professionals tell the success stories of their business to the happy customers. She does this through writing customer case studies and gathering impactful testimonials. Katie is totally blind and runs a successful business whilst living the freedom of the laptop lifestyle, something I do too, and it's great. She enjoys the freedom of being able to work with anyone, anywhere in the world, and never lets her blindness stop her from doing what she loves and enjoying many hobbies. When Katie isn't glued to a laptop, she is either wordsmithing, she can be found baking, reading young adult fantasy novels, stargazing, and road tripping with her husband. I think before we even get started, and I know I said this to you off camera, I'm going to say it to you on camera as well, I'm inspired by you straight away. The fact that you are blind and you just live life to the full, and frankly, some of the things that I see that you do here, I know people that aren't blind and they make plenty of excuses as to why they can't do them. So go you, Katie. I think it's awesome that you just do you and do life in spite of being blind.
There's nothing else I'd rather be doing. So
do what you love and love what you do.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit of your story. I mean, for a start, one question I would like to ask you is, have you always been blind? Were you blind since you were born, or?
Yes. I was born 3 months early, and the lights in the neonatal intensive care unit were very bright. And we aren't sure how my vision would have progressed anyway with being born so early, but I have always been blind. And in a way, I mean, it's been a blessing because I have just, instead of needing to constantly adjust or change, I just had to find different ways of doing the things that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess, I mean, there's technology out there now that's probably coming quicker all the time that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I have software on my computer that reads the screen to me. So one of the many reasons that I picked writing is that I can do it. You know, it just requires Microsoft Word and my screen reading software and a computer, and I can create wonderful stories for people and make an impact that way.
That's it. That's what you got to do. Make an impact, right? And that's your way of doing it. So, how did you come up with the idea for the business, and how did you get started?
Yeah, so I studied journalism in college, and I had been writing on and off for several years since then. And I decided I wanted to freelance more seriously. I had done some freelance projects here and there, and I thought, you know, that I want to work from anywhere and be able to continue to write. So I picked up a book that had a bunch of different writing ideas in it, and flipped through and wrote down all the ones that sounded interesting and started to research them. And when I came across case studies, I thought, well, that is really great because I love people. I love interviewing, so it's kind of fun to be on the other side of the interview tonight here. And I also love celebrating success. I think a lot of people do not take the time to stop and celebrate their successes because they're so busy trying to get to the next success. And The more I researched case studies and the more when I actually wrote one, it felt really positive, really natural to me. And the other thing I love about case studies is it's marketing. And as a journalist, marketing seemed like kind of a dirty word because I wanted the news, I wanted something factual. But with a customer case study, you're telling the story of someone, a real person who used a product or service. So that just blew me away that I could do marketing in a way that felt really authentic and real and true. And that it was pretty much, that was it from there. So.
Yeah. And then how long ago was that when you started?
Well, I discovered case studies in, I believe it was July of 2019, researched it a bit, took a class, started prospecting in April of 2020. So, in the throes of a pandemic, I started my business.
In the midst of the storm.
Yeah, and got my first client about 12 weeks later. I would say 10 weeks later. Yep. And it's been great ever since. Just continues to grow.
That's fantastic. Do you know, it seems to be a theme of people I'm speaking to lately. A lot of people actually started a business inside the pandemic because the world didn't stop. It just slowed down. And in fact, there were many businesses that were excelling. Anything to do with online was growing massively. And people forget that there's a huge amount of businesses that support making that happen. Transport, haulage, freight, manufacturing, packaging, to name just a few. These are all businesses would have grown exponentially. And of course, I guess you kind of seized an opportunity there, actually, in a funny kind of way, because if people are buying products online or services then they're going to want to see solid reviews and testimonials. And in the longer tail, of course, case studies. And that's exactly what you supply. So actually a great time to start a business like that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because I wasn't planning when the pandemic hit and I started working my day job remotely. I thought, this is it, I'm working remotely. And then I realized that my freelance dreams, I had been planning to launch in April, whether the pandemic was there or not, because that was the time that made sense to me. And, it worked out perfectly. And, I thought about it for just a few seconds. I was like, well, there is a pandemic going on. And I was like, no, I'm not going to stop my dreams just because of a pandemic. So, it's very, case studies are a very popular thing right now because, like you said, the in-person aspect of business, it's lessened. Even doing calls virtually versus the in-person sales calls that people used to do, the case study puts more of a human face onto the product or service, so it can personalize the virtual sales experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, look, you could read 10, 20, 30 short reviews, but the reality is anyone could really get someone to kind of make them up for them very quickly, or pay someone to do that. I'm not saying that all reviews that you read aren't genuine, but I'm just saying they're very short, they're very sharp, and they're not very detailed. Whereas with the case study, of course, there's a lot more back-end work gone into that. It's usually focusing around, if not one, perhaps a group of people that have used a product, service, or had an interaction with someone for a service they supply. I'm thinking, and when I say that, I'm thinking like doctors and dentists and stuff like that. And it's a complete article, so which is written by someone like yourself as an external person, who's gone in and looked at what worked with this, and being honest as well, because it's important, I find, in testimonials to be completely transparent and say, actually, this didn't work for me with this particular product. And I think people appreciate that more because they're like, okay, this is actually honest and truthful. And they've said, look, it's a great product, but these are the limitations. Here's where it didn't quite work for me. And I think in a space where we're constantly getting almost abashed with ads and buy this and buy that, and you type one thing in and you're constantly given ads for forever on stuff that's supposedly related to it, people want to see that genuine authenticness behind a business. And I think they're quite hungry for it.
Definitely, yeah. Especially if it's a higher ticket item and they know they're going to be investing, they want to make sure that the investment is going to serve them for a long time. And the other thing too about case studies where they differ from a testimonial, at least how I write them, is, I include quotes, yes, but I also include data and numbers and statistics whenever I can, and speak to different types of people, because there's words people and then there's numbers people, and the numbers people want to see the numbers and the words people want to hear the nice story. And so it can be a great way to reach a fuller audience too.
Yes, yeah. So tell me, how would you go about putting a case study together? What's the kind of method to people watching? Because I would have no idea, and I reckon the folks watching wouldn't either.
Sure. So I first talk with every new client for about an hour, and I send them the questions ahead of time so they can prepare. And I ask them all about their business, what their goals are, who their target customer is, and what they are hoping to do with the finalized case study. And I'm happy to give suggestions on that, customized to the specific business. And then I send the questions that I plan to ask their customer to them so they can review them and tell me, oh, ask this one, or hey, maybe don't focus so much on this one. Or definitely, include this question that wasn't on your list. I really want to know that. And then I schedule the interview with the ideal customer, and that's I send the questions to them in advance as well so they can read them and prepare. And then we spend about 45 minutes to an hour just talking about their story and what challenge they were facing that led them to this product or service, and why they chose that particular product or service, and what the experience was like working with the product or service provider. And then, of course, the results. And then I write it all up. And I also have my customer case studies professionally proofread, because I like to add that extra layer of accuracy. And then I send it to my client for their feedback and edits. And then once I've incorporated those, I send it to their customer for their feedback and edits. So that way they can make clarifications. They can see what's being written about them before anything is published anywhere. And then I send it back to my client for their final. Usually it's the final approval by that point, but I'm happy to do another round of edits if need be. And then I send a copy to the customer as a courtesy, like, hey, this is done. Here you go. Just because it features them. It features the customer too. So. And then if my client wants to, they can work with a graphic designer to get it graphic designed. I know graphic designers that I regularly contract with. So if someone wanted to get it graphic designed, but they didn't have anyone in mind, I could help them with that process as well. Yeah. It takes about a month from start to finish.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you just explained that and it would take someone to leave a review 30 seconds, really, once they found the place to leave it. So,
and it might not even be good.
Sorry?
It might not even be a nice detailed review either. It might be like, that was awesome, and that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah, that was an awesome smiley face. And you're like, that's cool, but doesn't tell me anything about this product that I'm about to buy, which could be $1,000, who knows?
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then, it's a relatively new business, I suppose. You're coming up to kind of 10 months in the game, but have you had many challenges that you've come up against yet? And if so, how did you get over them?
I think my biggest challenge was to figure out how to market myself in a way that felt personable and authentic to me. Because I saw a lot of online business people talking about email lists and lead magnets, and I might get to a point in my business where that feels right and I'm ready to do it. But for right now, I really like to do the personal reach outs, the Zoom calls with people, connection requests on LinkedIn are a big thing for me. I really like to keep it personal because it's all about people. People see people who have used a product or service and they choose to buy from a company which is run by another person. And so I like to just keep the process of my marketing really people-centered.
I think that's a great way to look at it, especially if you are a people's person at the end of the day. So why not market to people as a person, not a machine?
Yeah.
It's like it's almost kind of ties back to what I said earlier. We're constantly being barraged with emails. Most of them end up in the junk folder anyway.
Yeah.
Much better if you can actually, and especially LinkedIn is fantastic for that. And this is really only from what I hear. I have really only very limited first-hand experience with LinkedIn, but the way that you connect people on that platform, and they know that it's strictly business, and expand your networks via that method. It seems like a. I mean, do you network a lot via LinkedIn?
I do. Yes. Yeah. I join LinkedIn groups. I actually got my first paying client through LinkedIn. I didn't know him at all before we started talking about case studies. And usually when I meet someone else outside of LinkedIn, like at a networking event or on, Facebook has plenty of entrepreneurial groups too. I look for them on LinkedIn because I just really have found it to be where my people are at. And then on my LinkedIn, I also post updates every week. Just one, because I don't want to inundate people, but I share tips and tricks, and in the event that you might want to gather your own testimonials or create your own customer case studies. And so I like to share tips and ideas with people so that they can do it themselves if they want to.
Yeah, that's the great thing to do, right? It's a journey at the end of the day. Business and entrepreneurship is a journey, and if you can share that journey via documenting it and capturing it along the way, and it might help some other people while you're doing it, then why not? That's only going to grow your networks, grow your following, and in turn, grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever read any of Gary Vaynerchuk's books?
I have one on my reading list, Crushing It, right? He wrote that.
Right, yeah. So I did it backwards. I read Crushing It before Crush It. So I read the second one before the first one, which is just the kind of thing I would do. But I found it a fantastic book. I listened to it on the audio, actually, on a drive. I guess, how is it you listen to, obviously you listen to audiobooks, right?
I do, yes. I listen to audiobooks. I have a Braille display, and I can put books electronically on that, but most of the time, I'm doing chores or I just want to sit and I listen to audiobooks. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are awesome. I love it and that's something that Gary Vaynerchuk did, when the author reads the book. I think when it's okay when they get someone else to read it, but it seems a bit sometimes superficial to me. You just get more impact when they read it because it's written in their voice and it should be spoken in their voice, I think. And there's a book that I'm working on where there's going to be actually many authors involved in the book, and they're all going to be reading their own chapter in the audio version.
Oh, how cool.
That'd be very exciting. There's 33 different authors.
Oh, keep me posted on that one. I definitely want to check that out.
I'll keep that note in mind, because I'll talk to you about that off camera afterwards, actually.
Okay.
Opportunity to work together there. Now, tell me about a big win or triumph for your business. A moment that really stuck out to you and thought, this is what I should be doing, and I'm loving doing it.
I think for me, it was when I got that first client. When I had the check in my hand and we were getting ready to work on our first case study together, because I had been reaching out to people for about 10 weeks and following up with people, and he was the first one who was like, yeah, let's do this, it makes sense. And that was kind of when it really clicked for me, and I was like, wow, like that, it just, the whole process felt good. He didn't start working on the case study until he was ready. And that's what I want. No one should be rushing into a case study because it's too important. And so just holding that check in my hand, I was like, I am literally in business. It was a wonderful feeling.
Quite literally, yeah. Quite literally. And it's a snowball effect, right?
Yes.
You get one job and you do a good job, it leads to another. Of course, you have to accept the fact that it's also a roller coaster. There's going to be ups and downs, and it's about just holding on tight and riding that roller coaster.
Yeah,
but nothing like that. And it's funny. It's something I've said to other people, and I've never done it myself, and I wish I had. I don't know if have you ever seen in someone's house where they have like a dollar bill in a frame on the wall, and they're like, "This is the first dollar I earned from this business." Now, the thing is, with nowadays, everything's digital, right? So it's like, I've got to send the money to my bank and get the money out, and then I've got to transfer. I've got to get $10 bills. It's like, it's not something that it doesn't really happen now in the real world. But I've always said I'd love to do that and have it as like, or at least, I guess the modern day equivalent is like getting a certificate of your business registration on the wall.
Yeah.
But I always find something quite nostalgic about framing that first dollar that you've earned the money from.
Absolutely.
Now, the word hustle, it obviously features in the title of this show, the hunger for the hustle. And I like to define the word hustle as going out there and getting it, despite the circumstance, despite the environment, despite any excuses that your brain might try to make for you, just pushing forward and getting what you want to get. But I'd love to know, Katie, you're someone who I find, quite admirable and very interesting that you haven't let the fact that you're blind stop you in any way. You live, I don't want to use the word normal, because what does normal mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Very interesting and colourful life, baking, reading, stargazing, going road tripping with your husband. I love going road tripping. It's fantastic. Not with my husband, because I don't have one, but I like going road tripping all the same. And I think that it shows some hustle within you there, particularly anyone's got the hustle who goes forth and starts their own business. But I'd love to know how you define that word hustle and what drives your hunger for it.
For me, hustle, and this comes back to, growing up, I was the oldest of 6 kids. And when there are 6 kids, you have to move really fast and you have to talk kind of loud and you have to keep up with everybody. And it's always, hurry, come on, come on. And so for me, the hustle means do it, just act, like just do it quickly, not recklessly if you can help it, but, just get, like you were saying, like get out there and do it, but do it quickly. Like, what are you waiting for? What are you standing around for? Just do it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, just, I think sometimes when something new comes up, we're tempted to hold back a little bit and wait around because we don't have quite all the information around to make a good decision, which is good and fair. But I think sometimes you can let that just turn into full-blown fear, and then you're paralyzed by it and you don't make decisions. And sometimes while you're not making decisions, other people around you are making their decisions, and then you're just left with the scraps, with the bad decisions. So you got to take action, and you've got to take action quickly. I totally agree with you on that. Now, it's quite new for your business and quite fresh, of course, but if you had to start your business all over again tomorrow, is there anything you would do particularly differently?
Well, I think I would have started appearing on podcasts a lot sooner, because this has been a really wonderful experience. This is my inaugural podcast appearance, everybody. So, so I think, I will admit I was a little nervous coming into the conversation, but it's just, like I said, it's, for anyone else who might want to appear on a podcast too, like we're just people. We're just talking to people and talking to each other. So I think that's the only thing. I would have started doing that stuff a lot sooner.
Yeah, well, I think you have come across completely professionally. I had no idea where you were nervous at all. Some people tell me they're nervous, some people don't. And I always say to people, look, 40 minutes to 60 minutes of your life is about to go by. And at the end of it, all you're going to wonder is why you were nervous at all.
Yeah.
So it's going to go by anyway, so you might as well enjoy it and just get through it, right? And hopefully, you know, in the conversation that me and you have had today, someone else might watch this who thinks, do you know what? I actually love writing, and I could make a business of that. Or they just
Absolutely.
take some kind of value from some piece of the conversation that we've had, and that for me is mission complete. And I'm sure it would be for you as well, Katie.
Definitely.
Mm.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've been inspired by so many fellow business owners. So, you know, if I can inspire just one person to go after their dreams, I mean, it's incredible.
That's it. Yeah. That's why we're here. That's exactly why we're here. So, if you and you know, talking about dreams, inspiring dreams, what are some of your goals and dreams and aspirations for the future of your business?
Well,
You don't have to work the whole business.
yeah, well, a big personal dream of mine is to travel more. I mean, you know, we all started working remotely, but it was because of a pandemic. So as soon as the pandemic's over, I have a list of of places that I will be able to go now, because I can. I'm not working in an office environment anymore. So I can't wait. That's really exciting. Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, it's funny because I'm such a goal-oriented person, but I'm a very much of a, you know, what goals are achievable and, you know, somewhat, you know, reasonable. I know that there's lots of people who are like, oh, set unreasonable goals and just go for it. But like for me, I think, you know, I'm taking it one day, 1 week at a time, and my goal is to continue to be consistent throughout the rest of the time that I'm running my business, which is hopefully a really, really long time, because I'm loving it. So to remain consistently available for people and to keep writing, I mean, if I could continue to do those things for the rest of my life, that would be great.
Well, there's nothing, you know, it's like Henry Ford says, whether you say you can or you can't, you're right either way. And that's where it all comes from. The garden of your mind, you plant the seeds. Some of them wither away and die because you don't spend any further time on the seeds you've planted, the thought. But other thoughts we have, we nurture, we water, we feed, and before we know it, they've grown into a big, beautiful tree that bears big, beautiful fruits. And really, I see you as someone who thoroughly enjoys what you do. I can see it when you talk about it, it makes you smile. And I think just that energy, you know, I was talking to someone else, Brynner, a guy called Brynner, who I had on the podcast earlier, and he's worked in events for over 20 years. And we were just saying that, you know, if you do what you love and you love what you do, number one, you're so blessed to have even found that. Some people go the whole life not trying enough things to be able to find out what they actually love doing. And I think that's a really sad thing, actually.
Yeah. I just smiled when you said that. Sorry, that was anyway.
I think it's a beautiful thing that you found doing what you love, and in fact, the thing that you do actually really helps other people as well, in more than one way, because it helps, of course, anyone that's selling the product or service that you do your case study for, but it helps the potential customer, the buyer of said product. And you know, in this marketplace we're in, where everything is fast and everything is now. It's like, well, you know, how am I meant to differentiate between these things? And, you know, the last thing you want to do is buy something, and it happens, we've all been there, right? You know, everyone's watching can relate to this one. You buy something on the internet, it looks fantastic, and then you get it, and you're like, this isn't what the pictures look like at all. It's like, it's either 3 times smaller or 10 times bigger, and that is a pain in the ass. You have to send it back, you know, you've got to get a refund and all that annoying stuff. So I try and avoid that if we can.
Same, yes.
Now, leads me to my final question, and I know you're excited to answer this one, Katie. 3 hot tips and a book recommendation for anyone wanting to start their own business.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the book first, because it started me on my entrepreneurial journey. It is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, I've not, you know, systematized and delegated my whole lifestyle out to anyone else yet, but what that book did for me, particularly in the fear setting sections and the goal setting sections that he has, it showed me what was possible. And I read that book back in 2015, and I had so much energy from that book that I had to go skydiving. One of my friends was like, let's go skydiving. I'm like, yes, I've just read this incredible book. I need to do something with all the energy that I have. So we went skydiving. So definitely check it out. I flip through it once every quarter, and there's always something that has stuck out to me. Now the 3 hot tips. Tip number 1, if you have an idea, try it. And if you can't try it per se, like let's say, for example, it's a product you want to invent or something like that, talk to a few people about it and ask them, if I made this, would you buy it? That's like the number 1 question that you want to ask people when you're talking to them about something you want to do. So yeah, try it. Tip number 2 would be to write down as much as you can. Like, make lists. I'm a big believer in lists. Or it could be, pictures, or it could be a recording. It can be in any way that you want it to be, but just get it out of your head and get it onto somewhere else so that you can use that space to really dream and brainstorm and build your business. And the third thing is surround yourself with awesome people. And by awesome people, I mean successful, people who seem successful to you, people who are living the type of lives that you want to live, because you will become who you hang out with. You will become a composite of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you spend time with people who are downers and complainers and excuse makers and negative, unfortunately, that stuff is going to seep into your mind and seep into your life. But if you spend time with people who are happy and upbeat, and they recognize that their lives are not perfect, and they're not afraid to talk about it and be vulnerable, but they're also not afraid to talk about their successes, and they want to bring others along for the ride, then you will become that type of person as well.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it, and just a really nice note to end on. I'm going to share your links for excuse me, your business, K Corbett Communications.
Thank you.
Your link in the comments there. But do you just want to tell the folks who's listening where the best place to find you online is?
Yeah. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn and mention that you heard me on the Hunger for the Hustle, and then I will know where you found me. That's the best place right now.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Katie. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I'm inspired by you, and I'm going to watch back, because that last thing you said about surrounding yourself with awesome people is just sage advice. Folks, thanks for listening, whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram, or even Spotify whilst you're driving the car or doing the dishes. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate every single person that listens to the show. Please give it a like. Please give it a subscribe. Please give it a share if you know someone else that may just get some value from this episode, because sharing, of course, is caring. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Katie. Thanks, everybody. Stay hungry and keep hustling.
Thank you.